So I was browsing the internet again, I think that's literally all I do all day, and saw a clip of the MUNK debate that Jordan Peterson was on a couple of weeks back. I remember watching the debate, but I didn't see a reason to talk about it. Actually, that's a lie, I definitely did, but I was extremely busy with another video which took forever to edit. But when I found this clip, I just had to share some thoughts on it, and I actually think I have some points to offer that other videos on this exact clip don't, though I haven't watched a lot of them to draw that conclusion, so you can be the judge of that. First, just a disclaimer, I'm pretty familiar with Jordan Peterson's views, though there's a lot of them on a varying degree of topics, so it can get confusing. However, it's my first time hearing of Michael Eric Dyson, whom I found to be immediately irritating just from his sense of egomania. Though I have to give it to him, he has great stage presence and a rare level of confidence. One thing that I disagree with what seems to be the majority of people who watch this is, I don't think he's that sharp rhetorically as people play him up to be, a point that I'll elaborate on further down the road. With that being said, let's get to the clip.
So, Mike, I want to come to you on those, great, Michelle, on Jordan's point about how does he, in a sense, get an equal voice in this debate back if it is implied that his participation brings with it this baggage of white privilege that doesn't allow him to see clearly the issues that are before us.
But that is to be complicit in the very problem itself terminologically. You're beginning at a point that's already productive and controversial. You're saying, how can he get his equality back? Who are you talking about? Jordan Peterson, trending #1 on Twitter? Jordan Peterson with an international bestseller? I want him to tweet something out about me in my book. Jordan Peterson, right? This is what I'm saying to you. Why the rage, bruh? You're doing well, but you're a mean, mad white man.
Okay, hold on a second. First of all, nice socks, and second, the moderator just asked you, and I'm paraphrasing, how does he, Jordan Peterson, have an equal voice to yours without you dismissing him because of his white privilege? And your reply was, Jordan Peterson not being deemed equal because of his position of privilege? Of course he's equal. He's also trending #1 on Twitter and is white, so he's privileged, so fuck him and his complaining. So, to reiterate, Jordan asked you how to have an equal voice to yours and you not dismiss him as privileged, and your reply is, you are equal in what you say, and I'm not dismissing you, but you're also famous and white, so I'm dismissing you. I have 2 points on that. 1, you can't have your cake and eat it too, and you proved his point.
And you're gonna get us right, and I have never seen so much wine and snowflaking. There's enough wine in here to start a vineyard.
And I'm sure that vineyard would be named after you, Eric. I'm actually surprised you can tell when there's snowflaking and whining going around. You're like Deadpool, very self-aware. Jokes aside, you do understand that the nature of the disagreement isn't about whining in general, right? No one is against whining in general. If you get shot, I expect you to whine about the fact that there's a hole of lead inside you that's causing external and probably internal bleeding. The problem is when the whining isn't justified. Is it justified, and what constitutes justification is the nature of the conversation here.
And what I'm saying to you empirically and precisely, when you ask the question about white privilege, the fact that you ask it in the way you did, dismissive, pseudoscientific, non-empirical, and without justification, the truth is that white privilege doesn't act according to quantifiable segments. It's about the degree to which we are willing as a society to grapple with the ideals of freedom, justice, and equality upon which it's based.
What? Remember when I said he's not the rhetorical genius everyone, including himself, played him up to be? That's in part what I was talking about. Despite the confusing, vague word salad, I'll try to break down what's wrong with his points. First, I don't think that Jordan's point about white privilege was dismissive, and I also think that's projection on your part, seeming that you constantly dismiss him because of his skin color. Also, you calling his points dismissive after he called you out for being dismissive is the formal debate equivalent of no you. Second, if white privilege isn't quantifiable, then it's not real. The notion itself is, as you say, pseudo-scientific, non-empirical, and without justification.
Number 2, what's interesting to me, you're talking about not having a collective identity. What do you call a nation? Are you Canadian? Are you Canadian by yourself? Are you an individual, or are you part of a group? When America formed its union, it did so in opposition to another group. So the reality is that those who are part of group identities in politics deny the legitimacy and validity of those groups and the fact that they have been created thusly, and then have resentment against others.
You're doing the same thing with groups as you are with whining. Saying types of group identity, such as race identity, is bad isn't like saying all groups are bad. Peterson has talked previously about people individually doing something in a way that is good for the people around them, aka the community or group. Also, he's a psychologist. He's obviously aware of the fact that people are social beings. He also talks about hierarchies of competence in his lectures and how they generally play a positive role because they produce competence. A hierarchy is a group in of itself. You cannot say Jordan Peterson's position is against all groups like nation identity because that's simply not true.
All I'm asking for is the opportunity. The quotation you talk about, the difference between equality of outcome and equality of opportunity, that's a staid and retried argument, hackneyed phrase derived from the halcyon days of the debate over affirmative action. Are you looking for outcomes that can be determined equally, or are you looking for opportunity? If you free a person after a whole long time of oppression and say now you are free to survive, if you have no skills, if you have no quantifiable means of existence, what you have done is liberated them into oppression. And all I'm suggesting to you, Lyndon Baines Johnson, one of our great presidents, said, if you start a man in a race 100 years behind, it is awfully difficult to catch up. So I don't think Jordan Peterson is suffering from anything except an exaggerated sense of entitlement and resentment, and his own privilege is invisible to him, and it's manifest with lethal intensity and ferocity right here on stage.
Okay, this is another case study for why Michael Eric Dyson is horrible at making points of his side of the argument and shouldn't be invited to debates because he keeps driving the topic of the debate into a goddamn ditch. Michael, you start off well by saying all you want is equality of opportunity. And then you continue to bash Jordan Peterson, who is also for equality of opportunity, but because he's against equality of outcome. And then you continue to say that's an old debate of the affirmative action era, as if that somehow is a counter to Peterson's argument against equality of outcome. Now, you may say you can be for equality of opportunity and outcome at the same time, but that's simply wrong. If you want equality of outcome, it means you want the result to be the same. If you want the result to be the same, you're going to have to take opportunity from some people and give it to some other people in order to get an even outcome. Also, Michael talks about freeing someone into oppression. That in itself is oxymoronic. You cannot free someone into oppression. And are you suggesting it's better to be a slave than an unskilled free man? I don't quite get the point you try to make here.
Jordan, I'm going to have to let you respond to that if you will.
Well, what I derive from that series of rebuttals, let's say, is twofold. The first is that saying that the radical left goes too far when they engage in violence is not a sufficient response by any stretch of the imagination, because there are sets of ideas in radical leftist thinking that led to the catastrophes of the 20th century, and that was at the level of idea, not at the level of violent action. It's a very straightforward thing to say you're against violence. It's like being against poverty. It's like, generically speaking, decent people are against poverty and violence. It doesn't address the issue in the least.
So, just a bit of cleanup on my part. The clip is from a 2-hour debate, so he's referring to a question he asked earlier that Michelle, Michael's partner in the debate, tried to answer.
And with regards to my privilege or lack thereof, I'm not making the case that I haven't had advantages in my life and disadvantages in my life like most people. You don't know anything about my background or where I came from, and it doesn't matter to you because fundamentally I'm a mean white man. That's a hell of a thing to say in a debate.
If it's true, then why did you say it?
Let me just say,
Very, very brief, because I want to move on to men and women. A good topic next.
The mean mad white comment was not predicated upon my historical excavation of your past. It's based upon the evident vitriol with which you speak and the denial of a sense of equanimity among combatants in an argument. So I'm saying again, you're a mean mad white man, and the viciousness is evident.
Okay.
Your argument isn't based off of historical excavation of Peterson's past. That's exactly what Peterson just said. I fail to see this as a counterpoint. It's like Peterson saying, this is blue, and you replying, I disagree, this is blue.
Well, I think I'm going to point out two things again. The first is that my question about when the left goes too far still hasn't been answered. And then the second thing I'm going to point out is that, you know, it's conceivable that I am a mean man. You know, I mean, maybe I'm meaner than some people and not as mean as others. I think that's probably more the case. But I would say the fact that race got dragged into that particular comment is a better exemplar of what the hell I think is wrong with the politically correct left than anything else that could have possibly happened.
And I think we should close on that. There aren't any more points to really talk about in this clip. Fucking Cicero here goes on a 3-minute, not even rant. It's more like a drunk college kid trying to bro science social anthropology to an audience that really doesn't give a shit because that's not the topic of the goddamn debate. I know it was kind of short, but that was precisely what I was going for, and I think I've made my thoughts on it very clear, unlike some people. Thanks for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed, or don't. Turns out the algorithm really doesn't care. I was kind of late on this. Though for sure subscribe if you have a thirst for poorly made beginner content. This has been Al. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in like a month.
To find the love within. I came back to let you know. Got a thing for you, and I can't let go.